Now that we have the basic parts of our website laid out and have a nice hero image full screen landing page, let's add some more pages to our website. To find out more about the hero landing page, please see the previous video. The previous video also shows how to clone your repository from GitHub. I have my cloned repository from GitHub from the previous video here. If I open the index.html, I have all the code from our hero landing page. I'm going to press Command A or Control A to select everything, then press Control C or Command C to copy. Over in the right, I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to call this file template.html. Then I'm going to paste all of the code. What I want to do now is keep the navigation and the footer. Here I have body class hero body. I'm going to remove this class because I'm making a generic template. This hero box, I don't need this hero box, so I can delete that. I want to keep the nav bar, but it's not the hero nav anymore, so I'm going to delete that. Then I want to keep all of the nav bar. This hero text box, I don't need. So here I have a header and a footer, and if you notice, I've deleted the header tag. So if you do that, make sure you re-add the header tag. If I do this, because of Visual Studio Code's automatic tag closing, it will have an extra closing tag, and that creates an error. So make sure you delete the second closing tag. If I save that, I now have a blank page. And if I start the live server, you can see that I have my nav bar and my footer. This is great because now I can fill this template page with different pages as I create them. The first page we're going to create now is the About page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything on the template page and then paste it in a new About HTML page. Select everything, copy it, create a new file, and call this about.html. Paste the code. Now I want to change the title. So now we can start adding the code. What I want to do is put it in between the header and the footer. So I'm going to add a main tag with a class of about page. So I can use the Emmet shortcut by typing main.about. Inside this, I'm going to add some text and an image. The text will be about myself, and the image will be something related to the work. So first, let's make a section, then period. So this is the about text, and I'll add a heading. So Matona Authenton creates bumblebees and fruit pies. Now let's add a paragraph. So I can press P, and remember with the Emmet shortcut, we can throw in some dummy text to see how it looks so we don't have to have our copy ready yet. So I can type lorem 35, and that'll give me 35 words of lorem ipsum. I'm going to add another paragraph, and I'm going to type lorem 23. So now I have 2 paragraphs of text. And if I save that and click on About, now you can see that I have my heading and my dummy text on the About page. Let's add some more content. You can add an email address. There are many ways that you can hide your email address. Most of the ways robots can still find them, and most email providers have good spam protection. You can also use an image for your email address or not include an email address at all. I'm going to include an email address inside a paragraph. So now I have an email for people to get in contact with me. Below this About text section, I want to add another section. Even though I have my social media icons in the header and the footer, depending on how large my About page is, I may want to include a social media icon or two inside the About text. So I'm going to do that by having a section with a class of About Social. Inside this, I can go ahead and get the different social media icons that I want. I can go ahead and grab them straight from here. And if I save that, you can see that I have my social media icons here. Although these are rather large, so I'm going to delete the class Font Awesome 3X. And notice they come in as the default blue links. Those will have to be styled in CSS. And then finally, let's add an image to spruce up our About page. So I'm going to add a section and give it a class of About Image. Inside this, I will have an image, so I'll type img. And then for the source, I'll type img/. I'm going to use the default ocean image that I've been using in this tutorial. And don't forget to add an alt tag. And if I save that, I now have all the content that I need for my About page. Now we need to add some specific styles for the About page in our CSS. What's great is since we're using a template, we already have our CSS included in Styles CSS. So we can just open styles.css, and here we go. It's a good idea to keep your code organized. So here I have my homepage hero CSS, and then I have my footer. The footer's at the bottom, so I'm going to keep that a bit lower. So after the hero page, I'm going to put in a comment. That way I know that this is the About page CSS. And if we look back, you can see that in the main class, we've given it About page. So that means we can style it independently. So I'm going to give it some padding. And remember that we are working on mobile first. And if I save that, notice that we have just a little bit of padding on the edges. We've pushed the footer down to give it a little bit of breathing room and pushed it down from the nav bar. And once again, remember when padding is written this way, it's top, right, bottom, left. Then we're going to display grid. And for mobile first, we want the grid template columns to just be one column. So we'll say grid template columns, 1FR. And we want it to have a height of 100%. So there should be no change because these are the mobile first styles. Now let's style the About text. So this will center it if it is longer because we have the top and bottom 0 margin and the right and left auto. Let's style the heading. So this styles all the H1s inside the class About text. So that makes the heading just a little bit bigger. You can make this whatever size you want. And we want to style the image. And on mobile first, we won't see anything that's different because it's already at height 100% because it's fitting inside there all of the aspect ratio. And now let's style the social media icons. So we'll display flex, and now they will flow with the content, and we'll have them justify at the start. And now let's style each of the social media links. So now we've styled the color, and I'm using black here, but you can use any color that you want that fits with your theme. So let's add some padding. We want 0 padding on the top and bottom, and then 1 rem to the right. Okay, and if you wanted to have padding on the bottom, you could have 1 rem all the way around, just like this. That's really up to you. Or if you only want the padding to be on the bottom and none on the top, so it stays close to your email, you can use the full declaration. So you can say 0 for the top, 1 rem, 1 rem, 1 rem. Then that will move it just like that. So that's a personal preference. Code it how you like. So this takes care of our mobile first design for our About page. It has all the content and it's laid out in a nice single column. Now let's add some media queries down at the bottom to style it for our larger breakpoints. So first, we have a media query at 600 pixels. Let's decide how it should look there. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and move this over to that breakpoint. Once again, keep your code organized. I'm going to put the About page in between the hero and the footer. So now what I want is instead of having the one single column, I want 2 columns. So I'm going to address that here. So you notice that I have everything in a single column. That's because I want the About social to stay inside the About text. And I have my closing section tag on line 64 in the wrong spot. So I'm going to cut that and then put it down in between the ending of the About social. So I want there to be 2 children of the main. And if I save that, now I have all of my code compact inside there. Now we'll go back to Style CSS. So if that happens to you, make sure you have all your pieces in the right spot. And you see here that we have this text running right into the photos. So let's add a grid gap. So now we have some space in between those 2 things. And notice that the image is the full height because we used the object fit cover. Now we can style the header and the paragraph. Now we have a much larger header, and we can make the paragraph text larger to fit. So the line height is 1.5 rem. That's the default. I'm setting it here just to make sure that I control the typography. You can adjust these so this section looks the way you want it on your website. So now that takes care of the 600 pixel minimum width. Let's do it for large screens. So now on a large screen, everything would look like this. I'll move my Visual Studio Code window over, and we'll scroll down to our next media query. And again, I'm going to go in between hero and the footer. So I'm going to change the scale of the header. And so now I have a much larger header, and you can see because of the object fit cover, the image is scaling down. And finally, let's change the size of the paragraph text on large screens. And finally, let's change the size of the paragraph text on large screens. So now we have this nice layout on a large screen that's very easy to see all about our bumblebees and fruit pies. Now let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and we want to make a commit. You can see all the notifications in source control. And for this commit message, we can say added template and about pages, click the check mark. Then we can simply sync down at the bottom left to GitHub. And now this will slowly update on GitHub pages. Remember, we're using our special default name repository, so we can just type in our domain name that we set up with Namecheap to see our website. Here with this 127.0.0.1, this is my local site. If I open up a new tab and I type my domain name, here we have our hero homepage, and soon we'll have an about page. So if you click, we have our about page. It appears that there is not CSS being loaded. Yours may load like this. That's because your CSS is likely cached on your browser. So if you have this problem, you can open up another browser or clear your browser's cache. You can go to another browser or clear your browser's cache. So if I type, so in Chrome, since it has not cached the previous CSS, it shows up. We can go back to Firefox and then see if it has reloaded the cache. So I'll have to clear out my browser cache for that CSS to show up. So here I can clear my cached web contents. And then if I reload, it has the CSS file. So if that happens to you, that's an easy way to fix it. Now we have an about page, and I will now show you how to add portfolio and shop pages to your websites.